One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet who millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
Today's show is brought to you by Juvenon. Are you feeling tired, sluggish, or foggy? It could be poor blood flow. Blood Flow 7 by Juvenon is scientifically designed to support healthy circulation, so you'll feel energized, clear-headed, and vibrant again. It's packed with natural ingredients like nitrocygine, I hope I said that correctly, S7, and trans resveratrol. Blood Flow 7 works by boosting nitric oxide levels, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels, helping your blood flow freely to every corner of your body. And that means more oxygen and nutrients to your brain, heart, muscles, and even those places that might need a little extra help as you age.
They call it a lifting. They also use another word, but I'm not going to use that word. You know what that is? The word, it starts with an E. You know what the word is? If I ever used it, I'd be run out of town by you people.
Oh, behave. Yeah. Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Oh. Let's talk about the fact that President Trump incited an insurrection.
Explanation was not they didn't like Donald Trump. They said he participated in an insurrection.
With just one dose a day, you can reclaim your stamina, support heart health, and improve overall vitality, all without any caffeine or stimulants. Try Blood Flow 7 today and feel the difference where it matters most, inside your veins.
I mean, we may do papers on it, Marco. Maybe we're going to do papers. I don't even know if you need them. They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes. Then it's easy to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while, you have to use a certain word.
I think we have to join the others.
It's from Sky News. Mark Rutte, the NATO chief, who is your friend, he called you daddy earlier. do you regard your NATO allies as kind of children?
No, he likes me. I think he likes me. If he doesn't, I'll let you know. I'll come back and I'll hit him hard, okay? No? He did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy.
Do you regard your NATO allies, though, as kind of like children, and they're obviously listening to you and they're spending more, and you're obviously appreciative of that, but do you hope that actually they're going to be able to defend themselves, defend Europe on their own without...
I think they need help a little bit at the beginning.
This is too much. Absolutely too much. It just drives me crazy as you guys are watching the video of the entourage heading to Air Force One as President Trump makes his way home. That press conference this morning was just too much. We watched the spanking of the media, just like a daddy would do. We watched the NATO general call him daddy and referring to the kids. And just like when daddy tells you something and where daddy has told you something in the past, you do it or else you get, in this instance, bombs dropped on you. Or, you need to pay more money. And there's been complete capitulation from NATO. They've agreed to spend more money. They're going to ante up more cash to the mix there. Maybe all along what this world needed was a daddy. You've read all the statistics, the birth rates and everything else in terms of how things are, especially in my community, the black community, mostly born out of wedlock. Daddy has become a bad word. The media is freaking out. Oh my God, they called him daddy. But when you and I grew up, daddy was revered. Daddy was a term that of respect. All of us had one. Some of them not so good. Some of them really good. But all of us had one. And those of us who had fathers around, whether or not they were in a home or they were around in some way, shape, or form, daddy was a term of respect, of reverence. And that's something else the left has taken away from society. It is now an insult. You're not my daddy. Well, you don't even know who your daddy is, some people probably. As this man is ascending the steps to go to Air Force One and head home, just imagine the weight on his shoulders right now. Just like a daddy would take care of a family. He's coming home and he knows, I'm coming into a shitstorm. I know right now as I travel back home, I can't even really take a breath. I've got a 5 or 6 hour plane ride. I'm heading back and I'm going to deal with all these other idiots. I went to Europe. I dealt with these idiots. I had to put some of them in their place. Had to drop bombs. Had to spank some of them. And now he's coming home and the other kids are running around crazy. He's got to go talk to John Thune. You getting this done? Is the Senate passing the big beautiful bill? Hey, Mike Johnson, are you getting this done? Christie, you rounding up people with Tom Homan and getting them out of here? Pam, Cash, Dan, what the hell are y'all working on? We've made fun of him. We're like, where does this guy get the energy? How does he ever sleep? Well, daddies don't sleep. When you see your dad sleep, he sleeps hard because he's taking rest. Because he knows in between winks, he's got so much he has to take care of. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. This man must take little cat naps. And as he's taking his little cat naps right now, he's still out there doing what we need him to do. Not taking any time off. He posted this about the same time as he probably got on Air Force One once he sat down, and you can pretty much tell the things that he posts versus like what an assistant posts. An assistant will post the videos and all this stuff, and you could tell. But when he posts, he actually tells you words. And he says, Israel just stated that the nuclear sites were obliterated. Thank you to our great B-2 pilots and all others involved. And, when you see these video posts, I'm thinking there's an assistant who does that. I'm pretty sure those are things that he does. Just a text, just a quick message, I got to get this out to people. So after what probably is one of the most tumultuous weeks that most presidents go through, he basically has to deal with a war, has to put the United States into a conflict, has to make sure everybody gets home safely, then fly off to Europe and deal with all this. Now he's got to come back. All this is within 7 days. It takes a strong man to be able to work those many hours and to be able to accomplish what he's been accomplishing. Never mind the President of the United States and all the stuff that he has to deal with. It's simply incredible. Now, he's coming back. He hasn't said much about it, and I would think there's not much for him to say about it at all because of what he was dealing with over there with the war, Israel and Iran and everything else. And before I get into this, make sure I have enough time because I have Representative Scott Franklin coming on at 2 o'clock. So I think I've got enough time to get into this. I just want to make sure before I go too far that I can indeed fit this in. I'm not sure if I can fit it in, but I'm going to try. Before I do that, though, I want to thank you guys again. Just loving everything you guys do, which will make, as I announce this, I'm probably not going to be able to fit everything in. So I'm just gonna go through this, and then we'll talk about something else. Last week with my grandson in town, I didn't have a chance to do all the videos that I usually do, and so I kind of dropped out of the top 100. And I only mention this not to pat myself on the back, but to thank you. The new rankings for YouTube just came out again. And hold on, let me do this so you can see better. Okay. These are the new rankings. Of course, Joe Rogan is number 1. And yours truly is down here at number 68. And that's where I've been coming in, between 65 and 68. And I really appreciate it. And if you guys look at this list, you're going to notice some things that are going to make you realize you guys are pushing this channel to really big heights in terms of the names and people that we're beating. Again, we beat Bill Riley. We beat Nancy Grace. We beat that guy. And I know some of you guys are seeing this and going, what? Yeah, we beat him by nine points. And then, of course, there's other people here. We beat Stephen A. Smith. We beat Matt Walsh. Yeah. And as I was scrolling through this, we beat Conan O'Brien's people. We beat David Parkman, Bill Simmons, Big Baseball Podcast. That can't happen without you guys. That cannot happen without you guys. There's no way. I mean, this guy's got 3 million subscribers. I don't have a tenth of that. And we're able to even be named with these people, never mind beating some of them. And so I personally, my wife, Robin, the mods, we want to just say thank you very much. You guys have done so much for us. It is greatly appreciated. I will never, ever take you guys for granted. That's why even if I'm tired, I'll jump in and do 2 shows. I got to do the 2 shows. Sometimes I'll do 3 shows. I'm going to be moving into a studio. I'm bringing in different feeds and everything. Ashley's kicking butt trying to get as many interviews. Thank you. I'm just going to do this for you. It really does make you just sit back and think, like, wow, you're building something. You're building something people appreciate, building something that people tune into, and I, for one, am very, very happy. So, Scott Franklin is coming up, so I'm gonna begin this. Probably not gonna finish it all because he's up in 15 minutes and this video is 15. So if I play the entire video and shut up, you might get through it. But I doubt you're gonna be able to get through the entire thing because we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk because I said I would discuss what's been going on up in New York City. And New York City is about to turn into a real-life movie. A real-life movie like we've seen back in the day with Escape from New York. Gotham, a Batman movie. What else can we align ourselves with? Warriors. These are all the movies that we watched growing up that maybe now you might want to go back and go, is this what they really had in mind? Because I think what happened last night is a precursor to where New York may be headed. We talked a little bit about it this morning while we were waiting for President Trump to come on, but I had this segment put together, and I want you guys to hear some of this stuff. We'll get through as much as we can before Congressman Franklin is here, which we'll kind of dovetail into some of this stuff.
Democratic socialist. He wants to freeze the rent. He wants city-run grocery stores, social workers to replace the police because that's going to help. He wants $60 billion of debt fund for affordable housing. He wants free buses, no cost for childcare, baby baskets for newborn, and a $30 minimum wage. How can someone vote for this?
Look, as you're looking at all these things, the one thing that socialists do very, very well, one thing that communists do very, very well, is they tell everybody it's all free. You won't have to pay for any of this. It's going to be fantastic. It's a utopia. If that's true, why is it that these democratic cities are hellholes? The ones who've tried it. Yet people keep walking lock, stock, and barrel into this crap. It's insane. I noticed that he was in here for a second. I was going to jump to him before we kept going. I don't get it. You have the model. You can visualize it. You can say, hey, let's get in the truck. Let's drive over to Detroit. Detroit, you guys have been trying this, right? Chicago, you've been trying it. Los Angeles, let's go ahead and see how it works. What are you confused about? How can you have any confusion as to how socialist and Marxist and communist countries work? How about before you try it, how about people in New York go try to take a trip to Cuba? It's like they think Republicans are making it up. If it's so good, why does it not work? And every single socialist and Marxist person who's ever had a platform, forget Fidel, go all the way back. It never works. And if you could point to something and go, that works right there, we can try that. Maybe we can make it a little bit better and have like sort of communism. You see, the problem that you're going to have is that people who don't want to work and people who want the handout will continue to grow because there's no incentive for them to do better. And then the people who you're taking from, at some point go, I'm sorry, I gave at the office. The only way some of these countries have ever been able to exist is because they confiscated natural resources from the entirety of the country and enslaved the country to make those resources work. But on a state basis, you don't have that. You don't have those resources. And on a city basis, it's even worse. You don't have anything. You go ahead and tax all those restaurants in New York City. What do you think's going to happen? Bye. Go ahead and tax all the retail outlets, the ones who can't even stay open now because they have to put locks and screens, and so people can't steal all their stuff. In Los Angeles, they can actually steal $900 worth of your stuff without ever getting prosecuted, and so they know. So forget the debates on stage. Forget all the back and forth on X. Forget the media pundits. Just ask a simple question when you're talking to people. Can you show me where this has worked before? And then the second question is, then why aren't they doing it? And those two questions will expose almost every Democrat socialist, because Los Angeles has basically complete power to do what they want. They've been doing it. What's the problem? If it works so well, why aren't you doing it? And there's no other excuse that you'll hear from them except one. There will be one excuse. We need more money. Well, then you're not a socialist country. You can't give away free stuff. You need somebody else's money to buy the crap that you want to give away to other people. You want the other hamsters working so these people can sit around and do absolutely flipping nothing. And then you'll say, hey, see how socialist works? But you don't show them what's going on over here. You don't show them the people working their asses off. You don't show them the slave labor. You just show them the hey, but you can't even show them nice stuff. At least in China, they can take it in nice places. I've lived in Baltimore. See, I've never lived in California. I've never lived in Los Angeles, so I can't speak to anything other than what I've seen on television or if I've driven through. Most of these places, you don't really know what's going on unless you live there. New York, I lived right outside of New York in Connecticut. But Baltimore, I lived in Baltimore. And I can tell you, Baltimore was an awesome place to be. It had the Baltimore Colts. It had the Baltimore Orioles. It had a rock and roll nightclub extraordinaire called Hammerjacks back in the day. It had some of the best seafood, Fells Point, all kinds of places for you to go. It just imploded. Many of you saw the series The Wire. Remember that show? Remember the show The Wire? It's funny because they didn't need to use a set. There are places in Baltimore, even cops don't want to go. The Wire exposed Baltimore in such a way, I thought it would clean it up. I thought people would see the show The Wire and go, man, we need to get in here and clean this up. This is crazy. Nope. They even tried to give away property. Me being in real estate. I'm like, hey, let's move to Baltimore. We're going to make it here, right? We're going to make a whole lot of money. The town is giving away houses for $1. $1? Yeah, if you live here for a year, you pledge to live here for a year, we will give you a house for $1. You fix it up however way you want, within the code, but we'll give you this house for $1. And I was like, man, how could I not do this? If we fix it up, this house is going to be worth, I don't know, $300,000, $400,000, and I'm getting it for $1? Yeah, sign me up. I'm done. We tried to renovate this house in Baltimore, and it got to a point where almost every other day, by the time you would renovate, the orcs would come in and steal the copper pipe out of it, steal the wires out of the wall, take the fixtures, do everything to the property, and you're like, gotta start over. To the point where then you're like hiring security guards to just watch a house. An empty house just because these degenerates would just go in there and want to tie off and do something, or, do something carnal, if you know what I mean, and I think you do. Maybe they had too much Juvenon in the system, whatever. But it got to a point where, we got halfway through, and after all the trouble, and then you get to deal with the pastors. The good reverends who come around in the Cadillac and say, hey, son, what do you need done here? I'm like, pretty good. I got my air conditioning permit, got my roofing permit. Looks like I got the plumbing permit yesterday. You got the pastor permit? The guy was joking, but he was serious. Pay up. I'm like, are you kidding me? Well, this is my parish over here, and we all work together. You got to pay us. I'm like, I am way too big for you to be trying to strong arm. And I've done some stuff for some people that, so I know what to do. And no, we didn't get into it like that, but nonetheless, it just wasn't profitable. See, the backside and flip side of socialism, Marxism, and DEI and all that stuff is the anti-profit part. What do you mean you want to make money? Well, I got this house for $1, and I'm going to fix it up, and by the time I'm done, it's going to be worth $300 or so. Nice row house here, and I've got some friends who want to get these done, and so I figure if we put 80, 90 grand into it, we're sitting at about a $200,000 profit. That sounds like a good deal to me. Or so we thought. Oh, you can't do that. You can't. No, these are for the poor peoples. You have to make sure that they can afford to come in. Well, I don't care who comes in. Go get a mortgage. No. You have to lower your price. Oh, hell no. Now you're going to tell me what I can pay for something. If you haven't experienced what this stuff is like, you'd be amazed that there are people walking around who think that they can control how much money you can put in your pocket. They don't have any problem taking your money to put in their pocket. They don't think you should make it. And so in addition to the homeless, the crime, the drugs, the prostitution, what else? The murder. Now, and this is, fast forwarding 30 years or so, one thing I didn't have to deal with that sprinkle some of this on top, sprinkle some of the, the newcomers who get to come in and get everything. It is a recipe for absolute disaster. There is no way out of it. And so my friends in New York, you woke up this morning and you said to yourself, what happened? Because most of you stayed home. I got some actual numbers I can show you, which are pretty interesting as I'm waiting for Congressman Franklin to come in. Let me see what I can pull up here. Let me show you this. It's from John Cardilla. Don't blame New York City blacks or Hispanics for Mamdani winning. They voted against him. Whites and Asians did this. And here is the chart in terms of how it broke out in terms of the voting. Hispanics didn't want it. Didn't want it. White people, white women, they wanted it. Black people don't want it. Asians, they really want it. Other races, whoever those might be, they didn't want it either. So it was white people and Asian people that voted for this. Liberal white women. Sorry, ladies. Liberal white women are the most toxic part of American society right now. For whatever reason, I don't know. But this entire platform that this guy is running for, or ran under rather, has nothing to do with the people who actually voted for him. He was supposed to be every man's man, to help the Hispanics, to help the poor blacks. Anyway, helping them. Not helping them whatsoever. Let me go to the next one I have here for you. What's here? Where's this? This was pretty interesting. I'm going to pick up on this. I see Representative Franklin is here now. Hopefully his microphone is working and everything. We will take a quick 90 seconds so I can get him set up. Just pause on the Zohar stuff, and then we'll come back to him after we talk to Congressman Franklin.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so I'm about to introduce you to Congressman Scott Franklin. Let me show you his profile if you guys like to get over here and follow him. Scott Franklin, he's been on the show before. He's from Florida's 18th Congressional District, which is just, I guess I would say I'm trying to get my bearings here, southwest of Disney, over by Lakeland in that area over there. But it covers a huge swath of the central part of Florida. So, Congressman, can you hear me?
Yeah, Barry, I got you loud and clear. How you hear me?
Thank you, sir. I can hear you for sure. All right, so I'm going to jump to it because I was talking a little bit about New York, and I know you got a short period of time. Your district, I notice, is like right in the center. Can you give us like where it is for people who aren't familiar with Central Florida?
Sure. I tell everybody who's not familiar, I'm like the south half of Florida with no salt water. So basically, I go from I-4 to the north between Tampa and Orlando, almost down to the Everglades, down to about Alligator Alley, so half Lake Okeechobee. It's a huge district, as you mentioned. It's about 8 counties, and I think I got about a dozen other districts that touch Florida 18, but it's the heart of Florida.
All right, so I'm going to get into the district and the area in a little while. Wanted to talk to you about the status of the big, beautiful bill. I know you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys in the House already passed it. Then it's got to go right now into the Senate, and they're going to make their markups and changes, and then it's going to come back to you. Is it feasible that this all could get done by the 4th of July?
Well, that's the president's goal. In fact, I just came from a lunch meeting with some of his staff and with Caroline Leavitt, and the president is already planning, the White House is planning a signing ceremony for the 4th of July, and she says he is adamant he wants that done. So there's a lot of work to be done between now and then. We have passed it out of the House. As you mentioned, the Senate is trying to figure out what to do with it and get their version passed. And we'll see. We're going to have some things we got to reconcile from that, because what we ended up passing out of the House was a compromise. It was a very tight vote, and it was something that we worked on for over a year. Long before President Trump even was elected, we were already working on this, knowing how big a deal it was going to be. So it took us a long time to get there. The Senate doesn't do anything until the last minute. Now they're starting to realize, how difficult this whole process has been. But I'm confident we're going to get it done. And, the goal is we want to preserve and extend the tax cuts from the TCJA 2017 tax cuts as much as we can and as far out into the future. Also, along with the additional tax cuts that the president talked about on the campaign trail, while at the same time cutting spending as much as we possibly can. Those tax cuts,
Hopefully, once the bill gets finalized by both sides of Congress, when would they take effect? Would it be like next April? Would it be immediate? Like if there's no tax on tips and it gets approved, when would that start?
That's a great question. I don't know that detail. I am believing that it's in 2026, so it would be effective next year. I don't think that it would be retroactive. There have been some instances in the past. I know when Obama came in and did a bunch of tax increases, there were some things that were retroactive to the previous year. So I don't know that, but it's a great question. We'll look into it.
Now, contrary to that question, is if it doesn't get passed, how quick would the increases kick in?
These tax cuts expire at the end of the year. So next year for 2026, people would get hit with the increases. The irony is we keep hearing this thing totally misrepresented by the press and by the left. They keep saying that it's tax cuts for the ultra wealthy. It's the billionaires' tax cuts. Everybody's going to realize how fast that's not true, because it hits almost every single person out there in the country with a tax increase if these things expire. In fact, I just saw an article this afternoon in the Washington Compost that showed the current what would happen to people of different economic situations if those tax increases go away. And there are tax increases, or if the tax cuts go away, it would be an increase on every category that they profiled, except for single mothers of 2 children making $20,000 a year or less, which, that in that category, most of those folks are receiving so many other federal subsidies in the form of tax rebates and food and health care and housing and internet and phones that they're not paying a substantial amount of taxes anyway. So, the reality is all of America is going to get a big tax increase if these cuts expire.
You know, the guys that you hear about in the news, like Thomas Massey and Rand Paul, how are you going to appease them because they want even further cuts? What will it take to get them on board?
We're not going to get those two on board. I just, I hate to sound pessimistic about it, but, we have a three vote, but we've got some absences, some gaps in Congress right now, but roughly 3 or 4 seats or votes that we can lose in the House. The Senate can only lose 3. I think you can pretty much take to the bank that Rand Paul and Thomas Massey aren't going to support whatever.
God, that makes me so mad. I mean, because the Democrats, they stay connected and unified no matter what, and we have problems on our side. So, thinking about problems, let me segue. I forget her name. The woman who bum rushed the ICE agents, she finally got, and I've got video of it. She was arraigned today, wasn't arrested. Are you guys going to move forward with anything to try and expel her from Congress?
Well, it's going through the legal processes, and I've talked with folks even just yesterday about it, and they're pretty convinced that not only is this thing going to proceed, she's going to probably get convicted. And it depends on how she responds to it. If she takes a plea deal and pleads it down to a misdemeanor, she would be able to stay. If she fights this thing and gets convicted of a felony, she will be expelled from Congress. I can guarantee you that.
Well, you would think at this point somebody who has that sword of Damocles hanging over their head would be a lot less defiant and uppity and would become in a little bit more supplicant and say, I did wrong, I shouldn't have done it this way, and maybe fall on the mercy of the Congressional court not to boot her out. But I was watching a video today, and it's like she doesn't care. She's completely defiant, as if there's no possible way anything could happen to her. And I remember, what was the guy's name? George was it Santos who got booted?
Santos.
Yeah, he got booted for something a lot
less.
less.
Put on the orange jumpsuit, you get a lot more contrite.
Yeah, notice they probably won't film that part. All right, so now the bombing. The Democrats, I don't know what your I didn't look at your profile. You're a Navy veteran. Okay, so you're in the Army.
I'm retired Navy, so I've spent a lot of time over there in that part of the woods.
Well, were you on a boat or were you flying?
Flying off a boat. In fact, that picture over my shoulder there is an aircraft carrier. Yeah, I flew in the Navy, flew carrier jets for a 26-year career.
Oh, awesome. Absolutely awesome. Great. So they fly this mission. They get the job done. As President Trump said today in NATO, and he's also said in other press conferences, why the media is immediately denigrating and downplaying everything that happened on this mission. I'm not going to ask you to comment on that, but thank God you're a pilot. Tell me what it's like for these guys to fly 18 hours, go over, take care of business, and then fly 18 hours back. I can't even imagine being stuck in a little cockpit, even though it's probably got all the creature comfort, but what is that like?
Not really. It's pretty rough. In fact, the longest flights I ever did off the carrier were 8.5-hour missions, and you're having to continually hit the tankers to air refuel. There's no place to get up and stretch your legs and move around. So yeah, it's pretty hard. The Air Force guys at least have the luxury on the back end of their flight. They come back and land on a long runway. Mm-hmm. For us Navy guys, you got to come back at the end and you still have to land aboard the carrier at night. So yeah, that was an incredible mission. It took a massive amount of coordination across a lot of different folks, and to do that as flawlessly as they did, and also to keep it secure without the word getting out, that was just job well done. It just makes me proud of I know what our defense is capable of doing, and it's good to see the rest of the world see again that, hey, you better sit up and take notice, because America has the means, and now we've got an administration that's willing to actually put some teeth into peace through strength.
Do you think they didn't know that? Did they think that, because they've dealt with Biden and Obama and stuff, that he wouldn't hit them like that?
I think it really caught them off guard. I think the president did a great job of sending mixed signals. They thought they had 2 weeks to work with it. They could negotiate. Mm-hmm. He just basically said sometime.
Oh no! What just happened? What is that? I don't know what just happened. Well, that was kind of crazy. Wow, we're just getting into the fix of it too. Maybe Ashley can fix that and get him back. That was the wrong button that got pushed there. I don't even know who that was. All right, let me see if I can get him back in here real quick here and finish this interview with him, because it just started getting to the point where I wanted to hear some stuff.
Trump country is booming. We're building, hiring, and winning in America because energy tax credits put America first. Building new factories in our communities, bringing manufacturing jobs home, and creating a stronger middle class.
Jobs and factories will come roaring back into our country. More production at home will mean stronger competition and lower prices for consumers.
And America's comeback depends on American energy. President Trump, keep what works. Don't repeal energy tax credits.
All right, well, I'm trying to wait and see if Ashley can get Congressman Franklin back on, because I had a couple more good questions for him. Hopefully, Ashley, if you're watching, get him back on. But right now, I've got a quick but really important update. D.C. politicians, as you heard, are trying to kill the tax bills, try to kill energy tax credits that are actually bringing manufacturing back from China and putting Americans to work. These credits are fueling American energy dominance, rebuilding our supply chains, and hitting China where it hurts. We're not talking theory, we're talking real jobs, real factories, real results right here in America. Repealing them would kill millions of U.S. jobs, cut over $1 trillion from our economy, and hand China the win. President Trump and you, don't let Congress pull the plug on America's comeback. Keep talking to everybody. Protect the tax credits that are putting America first. All right, I'm sorry. I don't know what the heck that was. I don't know if there's gremlins in the machine or anything else, but I'm glad you could make your way back.
Yeah, sorry about that. It must be the heat. I think we got like 103 degrees up here in the swamp today. So.
Are you home?
No, I'm in D.C.
Oh, okay.
D.C. is not my home.
All right, so you were telling me about the missions and everything and flying, and we were talking about people in Iran probably thought they had an extra 2 weeks, and President Trump was actually said within 2 weeks, and people weren't focusing on that. He said within 2 weeks. So let me ask you, from the missions that you have flown, do you think it was a complete success?
Well, I think anytime we try to rush and put out the absolute assessment before we've had a chance to do full battle damage assessment, I think it's a little bit premature. I cringe a little bit when we say right away. You can look at observations of things that have been destroyed. It takes a little while to make that full assessment. There's no doubt that we did tremendous damage to the program, whether it was completely obliterated or set back some period of years. I don't know. That remains to be seen. I think it was a tremendous message to Iran that, listen, we know where you are. You can't hide from us. We will come out and touch you with impunity whenever we want to. And there's also a great message there for China, North Korea, Russia, all those bad actors. The U.S. is back. The military's always been there, but now we've got a resolve to actually carry out peace through strength, and that's exactly what President Trump's done.
You see, one of the things I don't think the media has been talking about, and you as a pilot would definitely have a first-hand knowledge of this, is even if it wasn't, quote, obliterated, from what I understand, and you can correct me on this one, we have air superiority over there. Now, Iran doesn't have the ability to do anything up in the air. If need be, they could go back in and finish it off if it hasn't been destroyed. Is that correct?
That's true, and it could be done in other ways. Yeah. I think the president, people really should take him exactly at his word that Iran will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon on his watch. And God help us if it ever happens on someone else's watch, because Iran is a country that has made it crystal clear that they think that that Israel shouldn't have a right to exist, and that they will do everything they can to take down Israel and the United States.
And speaking of that, in terms of other presidents and other regimes, one of the things I've said, I haven't been able to understand what the answer is here, is obviously they did not build these facilities in the last 6 months. It must have taken years to build these facilities. Why did Israel let them build a facility? Why did past presidents here allow this stuff to be built? They must have had the ability to have, surveillance and see that, hey, they're building a bunker. Why do we let that even happen?
That's a good question, and it is something that's been happening over a long, long period of years. We monitor it. We have satellite imagery watching everything that they're doing. So we see where they are in the process.
Right.
We keep a constant assessment of exactly how far out they are from getting a bomb. And I think the president just realized that, hey, this is actually the last moment we can actually do something to stop this process. But everybody, going back to Ronald Reagan, every American president has said we can't allow them to have a nuke. Trump's finally the first guy to actually take the action in the hands and do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know if you followed last night this mayoral race up in New York City, and they put a primary win in for this socialist communist mayor wannabe, and then Ron DeSantis at the same time said that it's going to drive the real estate values up down here through the roof because of people getting out of New York. Tell me what kind of impact you think you would have if this guy was to be able to be voted in as mayor. You're right there by Disney. What do you think would happen?
Well, it'd be a disaster for the state of New York, and it would just be one more example, just like we've seen in California, of you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes, and they keep putting these morons into office, and they don't like the effects, and yet they then turn around and expect the rest of us to bail them out. Hopefully that won't happen, and we certainly don't need all the people from New York moving on down here. We're already busy enough down here, but it further demonstrates that the Democrats absolutely didn't learn their lesson last November. They're completely out of touch with the American people. And, I hope this guy doesn't get elected, because it would be a horrible outcome for him.
Horrible. I have two more questions for you, because I know you're busy. And this one ties into what just happened in New York. Does this now elevate the discussion about the SALT tax and whatever exception or raising the exception? Does that really take home now? Because, well, if you could explain to people what the SALT tax is, and then what's going to happen at this point, do you think?
Yeah, so state and local taxes, that's everything from your property taxes to state income tax, which we don't have in Florida, but they do in places like New York because they mismanage everybody's money and they got to keep trying to take more and more of it. Prior to President Trump, we had basically uncapped state and local taxes. So as whatever your taxes were in New York, staggering numbers for Floridians, but you could have people paying well over $100,000 a year in property taxes up there. Also state income taxes. Prior to President Trump, they could write off every single bit of that off their taxes. So effectively, they could you would have situations where people in New York could effectively write off their entire income and end up paying no federal taxes.
Right.
Well, that's not fair to us in Florida. With the 2017 tax cuts, it also implemented a $10,000 cap on all that. So right now, the most you're allowed, anybody in the country can write off on property taxes and state income taxes and all that is $10K. The agreement that was reached as part of this compromise for us to get it passed out of the House was to raise that amount to $40,000. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it.
Right.
But the reality is we've got such a narrow margin in the House that if we did not include something in there for raising the SALT limit, the New York delegation was going to vote no and take the whole bill down. They swear they would do it. It's hard for me to understand why they would do that, but they say, our reality back home in our districts is if we killed the bill and the 2017 tax cuts all expired, we would go back then, we would revert to having unlimited write-offs.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a win for them. They've got to be able to take something back. The Senate now doesn't have a single senator from any of those blue states that are really capitalizing on the SALT tax. So that's why the Senate is playing hardball and wanting to reduce that $40,000 limit. I think the compromise is going to have to be there somewhere in the middle. It's not, the $40,000 in my view isn't going to survive, but if we don't do something there, we very well stand to lose our Republican votes in the House that we're going to need to get it passed.
That's crazy. I mean, I saw Ron DeSantis on a state level is trying to do away with even property taxes down here. That would be amazing if he could do that as well. All right, so I've got one last question for you, and it's got everybody all freaked out. I can't wait till the Democrats realize what's going on and start complaining about it. Alligator Alcatraz. They've actually broke ground, per se. They're actually building it right now. What's your thoughts on that, especially since a little bit of your district kind of skirts the Okeechobee Everglades area?
Yeah, that was honestly something that wasn't on my radar until the last day or so. I was like, what is this Alligator Alcatraz? It is technically, it's outside of our district, so I have not been reached out to by any of the folks that are directly involved. But the reality is, ICE and other agencies are out there rounding up the people that President Trump said he was going to basically bring to justice, and particularly starting with the criminal element among the illegal aliens. And we've overwhelmed the processing facilities to handle those. And so, as I understand it, this is land that it's a facility owned by Dade County, or I think Dade County administers it, but it's technically in Collier County. And it was, what was originally going to be the Everglades Jetport. That was an idea back in the '60s that got shut down. And there's still land. There's one runway out there that gets used for some training periodically. And I think the determination was made. It's like, hey, we've got this land available. Can we construct temporary shelters while we're trying to process this big outflow of people that are being rounded up? Beyond that, it's been Department of Homeland Security gave the blessing that they would be okay with having a facility there. This has mostly been hammered out between the county and the state level. The governor seems to be fully on board with it. So I'm kind of watching as much as anything else to find out what happens.
Yeah, the Miami Herald down here said it actually was, they used the word, because they're bombastic, they used the word seized, but I think it does have federal control over it at this point in some way, shape, or form. I know
Go
ahead.
That's not true.
Yeah, okay. I know I said last question, but I do have one more that I forgot, because this one's really important. What can you guys do about these rogue judges?
Well, we actually passed a bill in the House that would prevent that from happening going forward, and saying that any kind of decision like that, consequentially, that would affect the plans of the administration, would require a panel of judges. But this ability for the other side to go out and just basically go judge shopping and find a judge anywhere in the country that they can persuade to rule in their favor, and then shut down an entire presidential platform, it's ridiculous. The left knows it's bad too. If this were happening the other way, they would be screaming bloody murder. We can't allow it to continue. So we've passed a bill in the House. Hopefully the Senate will take it up and make that happen. The challenge we have on the House or the Senate side is, even though we've got Republican control of the Senate, it would require 60 votes to get it done. And there aren't any. It's going to be a hard time finding. We got 53 Republicans there, finding 7 Democrats that would join in to make that happen.
It just drives me crazy seeing what's happening. I know it drives people here in the audience here every time they see some little judge from some little burg has put a nationwide injunction. It seems like John Roberts should have stepped in a long time ago and put a squash to this. It's out of hand at this point. So this is the last question. What do you foresee? What are you going to be working on as soon as President Trump hits the ground today? Is it all going to be about the big, beautiful bill and getting that done?
Well, we're doing that, and at the same time, we're doing our appropriations bills, because we've got the next fiscal year starts October 1st for 2026. As you know, last year, it all got screwed up, and we're on a continuing resolution that extended the previous year's budget. So we're still working off of a lot of Biden budget stuff, which is terrible. We really need Congress to function the way it's designed, and I'm on the Appropriations Committee. We've already passed 4 of our 12 bills out of the committee. In fact, in a couple hours, we're going to be passing the first one across the House floor, and that's military construction and VA. So our goal is to get all those passed out of the Appropriations Committee by the end of July, and then hopefully we'll get them all passed through the House and the Senate in September, so that we can actually run the government the way it's supposed to be done. But that hasn't happened since the 90s. As absurd as that sounds.
Yeah, it does sound absurd. Like 90s. Like, wow. Well, Congressman Franklin, thank you very, very much. I hope you guys can push this thing through by July 4th. It would be fantastic. I understand as of right now, President Trump already has a rally planned, I think, for July 3rd or July 4th to celebrate what he's hoping will be the execution of the big, beautiful bill. So
He
thank
is.
you. Yeah, it's going to be huge.
Well, as I mentioned, Caroline Levitt just told us at lunch that they're already planning, and the president expects all of us to be there for the signing ceremony.
That's a big leap to go out on, so he must be feeling very confident. Get it done, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, that's hold on, let me pull up his profile real quick. That's Congressman Scott Franklin, the 18th Congressional District of Florida. It's right below Disney is how far his stretches. You can follow him at Representative Franklin on X. So I hope you guys enjoyed him. I'm sorry for that glitch. I don't know what the heck that was. Gremlins or something happened. But I like it when I get to talk to these people. I hope you guys get some insight. And what I'm going to do also is I'm going to start announcing who our congressional and senatorial guests are going to be. So if you guys have some questions, then I can actually, put those forth as well, because I'm sure you guys have questions. So before I get back to our boy Zohar, whatever his name is, let me take some comments. Leanne Anders, great interview. Thank you very much. See, how did the Senate parliamentarian not get changed when Republicans took over the Senate? Good question, but he's in the House. That's the only reason I didn't bring that up. What Truckee is referring to is there's a position called the parliamentarian, and she was appointed by Harry Reid, and she's in there causing all kinds of problems as well. But that's in the Senate, and Scott Franklin is in the House, so I was going to bring that up. Russia will help Iran in time is prophetic. Yeah, it could be. Yeah, he's a good congressman. Good congressman. I loved it that he was a Navy guy as well. Let's see, what do we got? Get Sean Duffy. Sean Duffy would be pretty cool, Ashley. Very, very cool for him. Dawn, thank you. I'm glad you, good afternoon. Great pressure today. Thank you. And thank you for the interview. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. And thank you, Sharon, as well. So now, I'm going to go back to Zorhan. I think that's how you say his name. I don't know how you say his name. The Communist Manifesto dude. But let me just show you a couple things before I get back to talking about Zorhan. This is what I was talking about. This is specifically what movie was it? I think it was Eddie Murphy, one of those things when he was talking about having Jesse Jackson run for president. And he's like, everyone's laughing at Jesse Jackson, and then they wake up and go, he won? Well, I think that's what happened in New York. I think people didn't take it seriously. I think they all looked at each other. What an idiot! This blah 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 blah. There's no chance here. The chance was. There you go. Fun with numbers. There are about 4.7 million registered voters in New York City. Let me just pause right there. That statement alone made me go, huh? Isn't there like 12 million people in New York? Who the hell are these other people? By the way, let me look at that real quick. What's the population of New York City? Because that was crazy when I read that. Population of NYC. Excuse me. Okay. According to Google, there are 8.25 million people in New York City. 8.25 million. Actually, there's only 3 million in Los Angeles and 2 million in Chicago. So 8.5 million people. So when I'm reading this tweet, it made me even look and go, wait a minute. Only half the people in New York City are registered to vote. They need Scott Pressler or something. Okay, Mom Donnie got 432,000 votes. That's 9% of registered voters. That's 9%. How much of that? 8 million. That's like 2%. Well, I don't know what the numbers are overall. That the organized Jewish community was stupid and useless up until now is one thing, but a Mamdani victory in November is far from a foregone conclusion. When I was looking at this yesterday, and I was telling you guys, I'm like, something doesn't make any sense. You're telling me he won the Democrat Party primary with only 432,000 votes? That seem odd to you? I know people earlier were saying it was rigged. That ain't rigged. That's complete apathy. When you're looking at those numbers and say this guy won, he beat Cuomo, he beat all these other people, and he only in a city of 8 million people, he got 430,000 votes. That's not being rigged. That's people not giving a crap. That's people not paying attention. That's the Democrats realizing people aren't paying attention. Hey, we can put this guy in, and nobody will even pay attention until it's too flippin' late. Now you're telling me Eric Adams, the guy from the Guardian Angels, a ghost, anybody, me, couldn't get more than 430,000 votes in a city with 8 million people? You don't even need to cheat. You just have to get up. Get off your butts. See, I don't even think at this point that was any kind of rigged or cheating thing. And you guys who are reading this now you have to actually see it. 430,000, that's it? That's it. That's basically filling up Shea Stadium, Yankee Stadium, and Madison Square Garden, and a couple other places, and saying, that's it. Do you know when you're in New York City, there are games and football games and stuff going on, and people don't even know because it's so big? And this guy won with less than 9% of the registered voters. This many people. See, Democrats know that. They play the math game. They understand that most people are la la la, and the way they can do it is, I bet you most people didn't know there was a vote yesterday. Because if the media doesn't talk about it, and these guys only do their stump speeches in certain areas where they know they can, rile up the people, and then all of a sudden you're doing stuff where they don't even know it's happening, and then they wake up to around where they go, what? Are you kidding me? Uh-huh. Nope, I'm not kidding you. And that's what your problem is at this point, is because you just let go. You didn't pay any attention, and now you've got all this going on. I'm looking at some of the stuff that SV and Ashley are sending me. I will get to it accordingly. But there's a lot of news going on. Let me continue. Let me continue to go with the Zorhan stuff until we finish it, because damn, there's a whole bunch of news. Whole bunch of news. All right, let's listen more about Zorhan.
He's a snake oil salesman. Mm-hmm. He will say and do anything to get elected. Think about this for a moment. He wants to raise 1%. He wants to raise tax on 1% of New Yorkers' high-income earners. As the mayor, you don't have the authority to do that. You know who has the authority to do that? An assemblyman, which he is. He wants to do free buses. He could have done it at assemblyman. He doesn't understand the power of government and how you must making sure you improve your economy, raise the standard of living. And this is what we've done in the city. And I'm looking forward to being on the campaign trail and showing New Yorkers we can't go backwards. And New Yorkers never surrender or quit. I'm never going to quit for the city that I love.
That is so.
Do you think, I don't know, so this is just a pure question from me. Somebody asked, what would happen to Donald Trump if all this stuff happened in New York? Do you think it's possible that a coalition will now be built to stop this guy? That what's his name? The Cuomo. That Trump. That some big named New York people are going to step out and say, not in my city. I could almost see that happening. I could almost see there being some sort of coalition being built to attack this thing. People got caught by surprise. Remember, this is just the Democrat primary. Has nothing to do with the Republicans. So if this guy was only able to get 430,000 votes in the entire city of New York, all 5 boroughs, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that this guy's going to win. He could only get 430,000 nuts in the entire city. Now the messaging has to begin. Now this guy, Eric Adams or Cuomo or everybody else are going to have to come together and pound on this and seize it. Because the stuff I'm going to show you, if more people in New York knew what was coming, I think this guy would lose in a landslide.
Interesting. You're in the position, so you know you don't have the authority to do that. Yet he's running on all these promises he's not going to be able to fulfill. And New Yorkers are buying it. Now, Cuomo did say he hasn't ruled out whether or not he's going to run as an independent, which means he would be on your ticket. He would run against you. How would that affect your race in the field?
I've said this over and over again. People know me by saying three things: stay focused, no distractions, and grind. That's what everyday New Yorkers do. I'm a working class man. I'm probably the first working class union card carrying man in the history of this city. Andrew at this time should realize that the time has moved on. He just did not bring the energy of wanting to be mayor. And New Yorkers, they have this smell test. They know, do you want the job? You can't come out on weekends, go to a black church, go eat fried chicken, and all of a sudden saying that I have the black vote, I have the working class people vote. It's just not the reality. People know if you want the job. He didn't want the job.
What has your phone been like since Mamdani won, who's a BDS guy? He is anti-Semitic. He's anti-Israel. He's going to arrest Prime Minister Netanyahu if he comes to city. So now, all of a sudden, Eric Adams, you might be the only thing to stop, along with Curtis Sliwa, him from becoming the next mayor. What has it been like since the results have basically been all but official?
A lot of communications. I think I slept an hour and a half. Because the phone was going off all night. People understand this moment.
Coming back to you?
In a combination, a lot of people do.
A city with... You see, what's really going to be important is now a coalescing. Like the army's coming together. You're going to have to coalesce at this point and stop this guy like the cockroach that he is. You're going to have to make sure the AOCs of the world understand real Americans in real New York are not going to put up with this. They are going to have to mobilize messaging. They're going to have to mobilize people who didn't pay any attention. Or, here's something else that could be happening. Maybe the reason people didn't pay attention because it was the Democrat Party. And when we saw President Trump hold his rallies in the Bronx and the different things that he was doing, maybe the city's already changed and the Democrats don't realize it. I'm not willing to make that prediction yet, but I'm wondering if that's all you could muster in the Democrat primary was 430,000 votes. Then I would be sitting back not too happy going, well, what happened to the other 8 million people? I got this much. This much. What does that mean? Well, to me, it means there's 8 million votes up for grab. Or, I'm sorry, 400,000. I mean, 4 million because only 4.7 are even registered. So if there's only 4.7 out of 8 million registered, yeah, you need somebody like Scott Presser out there going ahead and register people. Pay the man. Get him up there. He could probably register 500,000 Republicans before the election. Personally, I don't think people are going to have to escape New York. I was kidding. I've been making jokes about the Warriors and everything else. I don't think this guy stands a flipping chance. If New Yorkers now don't see amongst themselves, this is crazy. Oh, it gets crazier. Let's listen.
They can do more than just struggle. One where those who toil in the night can enjoy the fruits of their labor in the day.
What the hell does that even mean? Those who work at night and toil can enjoy the fruits of their labor. What about the people working a day? Marie, you didn't understand what I said. Barry, a Republican cannot vote in the Democrat. That's not what I was saying. What I'm saying is if the Democrats could only muster up 400,000 of their own, then they don't understand what's sitting over here waiting for them. How many Republicans are going to vote in the general? So maybe this is all just hoping that he could win the mayoral race. Because if you only were able to generate 9% of the actual registered voters in the city, what is going to happen in a general election when the Republicans and independents can indeed vote? That's what I was saying, Marie. You understand the difference? I understand they couldn't vote. My problem is he only got it 400,000. If he can't generate more than that, it may be a landslide come whenever they're voting, November or whatever. But still, the word needs to get out so people get off their butt.
Hard work is repaid with a stable life. Where 8 hours on the factory floor or behind the wheel of a cab is enough to pay the mortgage.
You been to New York? I don't know how he would ever make that statement. If you have never been to New York, you can't realize how outlandish what he just said right there. You are going to drive a cab and own well, number one, there ain't many houses. You're going to own a flat or a condo in New York. Good luck.
It is enough to keep the lights on. It is enough to send your kid to school. Where rent-stabilized apartments are actually stabilized.
As an investor, who wants a rent-stabilized apartment? So what are you going to do all these landlords in New York? You're going to tell them they can't raise their rent. You've already told them in certain instances they can't even collect their rent. If I was in New York and you put all these things on me, I'd just put a chain on the door and say screw it and take the right off. No, I'm not letting people live here for free.
Where buses are fast and free. Where childcare doesn't cost more than CUNY. And where public safety keeps us truly safe. And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism.
What the hell does Donald Trump have to do with your mayoral race? What fascism is it that you're having to reject? You know what he's talking about, right? He doesn't want the dusty people getting tossed out. He doesn't want ICE coming through the streets of New York and picking up his buddies. That's what he's saying. They need to promulgate that. They need to make more of them. They need to turn it into Little Somalia.
To stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbors. And to govern our city as a model for the Democratic Party.
Except I've been, as I was telling you about Baltimore, I have lived in a Democrat-ruled city. And I was like, oh gosh, this is a hellhole. I just pray some of you who may live in one of these types of cities find your way out. You are blessed. I pray that you are blessed that you can get out, because they're not getting any better. They're getting ignored. And now you're going to listen to a couple people who are in Bryant Park on a beautiful day in Bryant Park. And, they're talking about Zorhan. Zorhan.
I like how progressive he is. I like that he's more in touch than some of the older candidates, and I think he's going to move our city in the right direction.
Adams has already stated he will run as an independent. I think the risk to that is we do see, generally speaking, the amount of money that you put in is the kind of support that you get out. And as you run as an independent, you don't have the large backers. I think Adams has had a tumultuous run, with some of the kind of police engagement, and while I think he's generally done an okay job, that is an ongoing challenge for him. Do I think Cuomo is the best position for the job? Not necessarily, but I do think he's got the right experience relative to Mamdani. And I think the question will really come to rank choice voting. And if, Cuomo is consistently ranked second to Mamdani and we still have 35% of the voters that ranked Cuomo first, then I think it would be a blowout. But if the, kind of perspective that the Mamdani campaign has given, which is don't even rank Cuomo at all, is taken forward, then I do think we'll see a significant challenge in, continuing to uphold some of those perspectives.
I'm very trepidatious about it, frankly. Not that I was a big fan of Andrew Cuomo. I wish they had more choices than they had, but I think he's a bit dogmatic, and I think that it might be dangerous for the city. Not obviously in terms of safety, because I think he's going to be very focused on things like that. But it's a delicate balance between keeping the city functioning well and making sure investments are in the city, but also addressing the problems of people who aren't as affluent as many people in Manhattan are.
So this guy is sitting in Bryant Park. It's a beautiful day. He's a white guy just sitting there. Maybe he should go look up some videos about Londonistan. What's going on in London? What's going on in Minnesota? Just look at what would be happening on a beautiful day if this guy gets his way. You're out there in a park, just beautiful day, having lunch or whatever, and you're not understanding the ideology. Everything you just said, this guy wants to tear apart. He doesn't want safety. He doesn't want criminal justice. Just the opposite.
I don't think he's as experienced as someone like Cuomo, but I think he has the heart and he has enough experience to be someone who'd be competent. And I think that even though he's relatively new to politics, he still has what it takes to protect.
Notice what he said. I don't know if he doesn't have the experience, but he's got what it takes. How the hell could you be both, idiot? He doesn't have the experience, but I'm sure he's got what it takes. How does that work? These college kids are toast. Absolutely toast. You can almost see it in his eyes. He doesn't even know what he's saying.
New York City from the Trump administration.
As a Jew, I've been told that he has said some things that are kind of scary. I don't know if it's about Israel or Jews in general, something about supporting jihad. I don't know the exact quote, but he has since tried to course correct.
He's not trying to course correct, honey. He's looking and saying, oh, my words that I really feel is pissing people off, so I gotta pretend so I don't really show you what I really feel because I want to gaslight you into voting for me. See, one of the problems that people have with Trump is that he just tells you what he feels. You don't like it, you don't like my mean tweets, so what? At least I'm not BSing you. I'm talking to you. And I'm talking to you like a New Yorker. As soon as you try to say he course corrected, you're making an excuse for what he has said. You're giving him an out. There is no course correction. He said if Bibi Netanyahu ever landed in the city of New York, he'd put him in jail. The very nature of his ideology, his faith, is going to be completely at odds with the Jewish people. Now, I'm not going to get into a conversation about Jews or Israel. I'm talking about New Yorkers. People who live in New York. Whether you like it or not, New York has an extremely high Jewish population. The diaspora up there is massive. So anything that goes on in the political environment up in New York City is going to impact the Jewish community, probably more than most communities. And so this guy knows this. He's now got to do the balancing act. See, I'm not that bad. I'm not horrible. Meanwhile, you know what he really feels. He's put enough stuff out there.
It's a good thing, and clearly whatever he's done has resonated with, younger people, and I really just hope, religion aside and his thoughts about Judaism or Israel, I'm hoping that when it comes to non-religious matters like our rat problem or mental health, how we deal with mental health in the city or homelessness, that he is going to have some kind of new ideas and be able to bring about positive changes. So yeah, I think he'll be okay.
Hope. Can you deal with the rats? Can you deal with all this stuff? I hope he can. He's talking to the young kids. Let me ask. I'm sorry. Let me tell you about the young kids. The young kids that are voting for him are college kids. That's exactly who they are. Lily's barking at the mailman or something.
Generally speaking, I'm excited that there is a push for, kind of new democratic leadership in the city, but I do have concerns, specifically being a Jew in the city. So I do think that there are quite controversial opinions around support for Israel and support for, broadly, pro-Jewish general engagement, and I do worry for the safety of myself, the broader Jewish community, and how we continue to exist in a peaceful and positive way with leadership that potentially does not support that engagement.
See, if I was doing that man on the street interview, it would have been completely different. Because here's what I would have asked her. Hi. Are you a college kid or yeah? No. You feel safe right here. Yeah. Okay. I notice you have a tank top on. I just want to know when you're going to go get fit for your camper. What camper? The full, yeah, when you put this on. What color is yours going to be? Because these people don't get it. They don't understand it. Hey, honey, are you ready for your burqa outfit? They don't follow what's going on in the news. They don't understand what's going on in the news. They don't know what they're looking at. Their teachers and professors are telling them idiotic stuff. And I'd have just walked up there and said, how many more days, how many of those tank tops you have at home? Okay, because you might as well burn them if they get their way. And I know people like Barry Jews scare tactics. I'm pretty sure there are people in London right now who went, in fact, there's a video on X right now. I didn't want to play it here. I'll play it tonight because I can't even say it. A pretty blonde woman is walking through the subways of New York City, and she's telling me I had to change trains 3 times because these guys keep following me. And I'm thinking to myself, this woman's sitting in a park, Bryant Park, talking about she's hoping and make this and it could be. And meanwhile, this other pretty woman is walking through New York City subway going, I have to keep changing trains even though I'm not going in that direction just because these guys were following me. They're not paying attention. They're oblivious.
Came as a surprise, yes. I don't really know much about him, but I'm looking forward to what he can do for the city.
I don't know much about him, but I'm looking forward to what he can do for the city. These aren't the most intelligent people. New York, you're not showing us your best. How do you not know anything about him, but then at the same time, you think that, it's going to be okay. Well, looking forward to seeing what he could be doing. Yeah, I can tell you what he's going to be doing. We've seen the roadmap. You heard what he said. We want to make it the model of democracy. And as of right now, just so you know about democracy, just in case you haven't seen, let me show you a little bit about what's going on in democracy. Ashley just sent this to me. We got a little old insurrection going on. That's what the Democrats call it, right? There are people right now, they're storming. And the problem is, I can't really show it because the guys upstairs get pissed off, okay? So I can't show it because the men doing stuff right there, they've got poo-poos on, and it might hurt someone's fee-fees. So as soon as I saw that, I had to stop it. So tonight we'll be talking about the insurrection that's happening right now in Washington, D.C. We got a full-on insurrection. That's what they say, right? That's how it's your terms. But it's happening right now. I'll wait to see tonight before I go on how many Democrats come out and say it's the worst day in history.
I think he's great. I voted for him yesterday. I'm really happy he won.
I do think he's going to win, and I think net we're all going to be okay and hopefully better for it.
I think that what his victory.
I can't help these people. Yeah, that's why earlier I was like, yeah, you deserve what you get. At this point, Mark Mitchell, who will be on the show on Friday, I believe, says, I'm trying to do my due diligence on Mamdani, and it's not good. He wants to replace the New York Police Department with social workers. I'm pretty sure the guys that are holding you up or got your family kind of tied up are going to listen to a social worker. Yeah. A $10 billion tax hike on businesses and the wealthy. The interesting thing is wait till you hear the definition of what a wealthy person is. Okay? City-run grocery stores. Yes, I can't wait. If I lived in New York, I would just tell somebody, go to the DMV and tell me if you had to shop at the DMV, would you get a good experience? Guess who's not going to have to shop in these government-run grocery stores? The same people that he wants to tax. And $100 billion spending plan. Man, we're talking craziness at this point. Absolute craziness. Let me see what, and I showed, listen, hey, like this one. This is something that he wrote. When New York Governor Cuomo refuses to tax the rich, he's refusing to let workers enjoy the wealth they created. Let that just sink in. Because you're not taking everything from the rich people, you're refusing to let the workers enjoy the wealth they created. When he says low taxes foster a business-friendly environment, he means an environment where it's easy for bosses to steal from workers. Taxation isn't theft, capitalism is. There is so much stuff out there. This guy is bat crap crazy. But he's typical socialist. Typical. But people aren't doing their due diligence. They're not reading as to what's going on.
Reflects is the flailing Democratic Party, which seems to be out of ideas, and Donald Trump, conversely, just making good on every single one of his campaign promises. Zohran Mamdani at least had a theory of the case for what Democrats should be doing and what they should be offering. It's not a good one. It's not one that actually will resonate with working class voters. We know, for example, that with voters who don't have a college degree, Cuomo was up 60% to Mamdani's 40%. It's with the college educated that Mamdani had 60% to Cuomo's 40%. We know, of course, that educated and wealthy voters turn out more. And when you think about his biography, the son of a professor and a filmmaker, a graduate of a fancy university where, by the way, he established his Students for Justice in Palestine chapter, he has all of the views of the over-credentialed college elites that now make up the Democratic Party's base. So in a way, it's not very surprising that he won. Unfortunately, Lawrence, I think we're going to see every Democrat who wants to get elected have one of these scenes of getting arrested by ICE. And I think the reason it's important you played that clip is this. Yes, Zohran Mamdani really hates Israel. That's the least bad of his very terrible opinions.
The fact that he hates Jews is the least bad of his opinions. Want to know how bad this guy really is? Let me show you how bad this guy really is. Bill Clinton, why did that not pop up? Not sure what, oh, okay. It didn't pop up because, let me do this. Let me go back. Hold on. I blew it up too big. All right, here we go. Bill Clinton wrote this. Laura Loomer posted it. The Democrat Party is undeniably pro-Islamic terror. Congratulations, Zohran Mamdani, on your victory in yesterday's primary election and a well-run campaign. I'm wishing you much success in November and beyond as you work to bring New Yorkers together to tackle the city's challenges and shape a stronger, fairer future. Here they come, here come the Hillarys of the world. Here, they're all going to come out. They're all going to just coalesce behind this guy because they want to Muslimize your city. This is they're looking, here's the business model. Find some, young, articulate guy that he was an actor. Just like President Trump was an actor, just like Zelensky was an actor. They realize right now we can't put these old doddering fools out in there anymore. We need somebody who can talk and play a role. So now they found themselves this, dusty actor who was also a rapper in the past.
His views, I think, are a big threat to working class Americans. When I think about the number one thing that is going to get worse if he is elected mayor, I ride the subway a lot. And Mayor Adams, whatever you say about him, he did make the subway a lot safer. And I can see that being reversed under this defund the police candidate.
In our New York, the power belongs to the people.
Hey guys, I am here in Bushwick, and I'm here with Elvin, who was on the fence about going out to vote, and now I'm gonna go vote. Gonna go vote? Yeah. We still got time. We got until 9 p.m. If there's anyone who's on the fence, text them, call them. This is the moment. It is gonna be a razor-thin race. Thank you, Elvin. You're welcome.
Next is Zohran Mamdani.
My name is Assemblymember Zohran Mamdani, and I am running to make the city affordable. I'll freeze the rent for millions of tenants, make buses fast and free, and deliver universal childcare. And before you ask...
If I was running against him, how can that win? You're telling people, I'm just going to spend money. We're going to make buses fast and free. I don't know about the fast part. I mean, it is New York City with a light every 30 feet. But it's free. And we're going to have just childcare for everybody that wants to have babies. Free, 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 free. And nobody ever asks these people, can you do me a favor? Yeah. Can you define free? I would love to be in a debate where I could ask a candidate a question that simple. Can you define free? Because if you define the word free, that there is no cost, then it's not free. See the paradox in that? Because as soon as somebody else is paying for it, then there is a cost. It's not free. And so in that regard, they're stuck right at that moment. There is no such thing as free. It costs somebody something. Every time I hear the word free, oh, free this, free that. No, somebody's paying for it. You may not be paying for it, but you can't say it's for free. It's somebody else's money, somebody else's product. In order for you to not have a cost, somebody else is absorbing that cost. And in this instance, that's you, New Yorkers.
I'll pay for it by taxing the rich.
To put a person in this seat at this time with no experience is reckless and dangerous.
To Mr. Cuomo, I have never had to resign in disgrace. I have never cut Medicaid. I have never stolen hundreds of millions of dollars from the MTA. I have never hounded the 13 women who credibly accused me of sexual harassment. I have never sued for their gynecological records, and I have never done those things because I am not you, Mr. Cuomo. And furthermore...
Yeah, that's who the Democrats ran as their candidate. To me, I was wondering when I saw this, was this a setup? Did they pay Andrew Cuomo to come out here and pretend like he wanted to be a candidate with all the dirt and baggage that this guy has? Because you could tell Zohar had it already planned what the response was. He knew where he was going to go. Yeah, you did this, you did that, you did this, you did that, you did this. And of course, Cuomo's got no response for that. Nothing.
The name is Mamdani. M-A-M-D-A-N-I. You should learn how to say it because we got to get it right.
You have Brian Nichols, who's making more than $113 million every year.
Starbucks had agreed, they had made a commitment, a public commitment, that they would be offering a fair contract to workers. And instead what they've offered are 50-cent raises.
Starbucks negotiate! Starbucks negotiate!
Say that he is far too extreme on economic issues and even issues involving Israel. I'm curious what your thoughts are on him ideologically. Is that does he have an ideology that you would want your candidates in 2026 to have?
Now you heard what the question was, correct? The question was this guy Mamdani in New York City, who now says he wants New York to be the model. He's going to put it into the model. Is this what you guys want for the Democrat Party? You always have to remember what the question is that they ask these morons, because you'll find out very quickly whether they like what they're hearing or whether they don't like what they're hearing. So now that you know the question was, is this what you want as a Democrat?
Well, from the standpoint of House Democrats and what our focus has been, clearly we have an affordability crisis in the United States of America, and our focus will continue to be on driving down the high cost of living in this country. Donald Trump promised to...
So you could have just stopped him right there, the little robot Obama here. It's okay, you can't answer the question. Because you can't answer the question, you pivot immediately to Trump. Is this what you want for the rest of the country? Is this the model that you want to see happen? It's a very simple question. And he heard the question, and then as soon as he heard it, Trump. That should tell everybody in New York. Talk like Jeffries. All of you should hear what the man just said. They're lying to you. They don't even want it. Either that or they're afraid to tell Americans this is what we want to do to your city. He's straight up. Joe Scarborough, who's probably in New York. Yeah, that's where Morning Joe is. Hey, is this what we want for the rest of the country? Well, Donald Trump.
Lower costs on day one. Costs haven't gone down, they're going up. He's crashing the economy in real time. His tariffs are going to impose thousands of dollars in additional cost on everyday Americans per year. And he may even be driving us toward a recession. It's the reason why Donald Trump has become so unpopular. It's because he's failed the country on the economy. And so our vision is going to be for an affordable America. Work hard, play by the rules, live the good life. Provide a comfortable living for yourself and for your family. That means being able to actually afford a home, educate your children, have access to health care, go on vacation with your...
You know the affordability thing is a ruse, right? You know, having been in real estate for so long, I can tell you, many people may not like to hear it, but this whole affordability thing is, I almost said the word, complete BS. See, it's not affordability. Affordability isn't the issue. It's location, location, location. You see, the people who can afford a $60,000 house don't want to live where a $60,000 house is. I can get you a mortgage for $60,000. You ain't going to like where that house is. It's never been about affordability. It's been about location. They don't want to put people in the houses that they can afford. That's number one. Number two, you will never afford a house and you will never buy a house if you aren't making enough money to afford a house. Those go hand in hand. So you can't have an affordable home if you don't have a viable income to pay there. Number three, you can't buy a house if your credit sucks. Most of these people, their credit sucks by the time they're 22 or 23. And so the Democrats perpetuate that. You want proof? I'll give you proof. When's the last time you've heard any Democrat, of course Republicans don't either, when's the last time you heard a Democrat say, you know what, we're going to do away with credit scoring. We're going to do away with the credit bureau. We don't want people diving into your credit and looking with a microscope and saying, back in 2009, we found out about this. Now, I know they're only supposed to go back 7 years, so let me rephrase that comment. We found out in 2022, you were a bad boy. They don't want people buying houses. They want them poor. Being in real estate, I can tell you the easiest way to get people into homes is make the credit scoring go away. But then if you do that, no one's going to want to give you a mortgage. So it kind of catch-22. I need to know that you're going to pay it. I need to know that you're capable of paying it. I know that your history says you pay your bills, so I feel comfortable giving you money. It's not about affordability. You got all these other things you need to worry about first. Showing people how to be credit-worthy Americans. See, that's a big step right there. Go ahead and get a gas card. Pay that for, oh, wait a minute. In order to have the gas card, you need a car. Go get a car loan, pay that for 6 or 7 months, then we'll talk about your house. None of this makes any sense whatsoever, and the entire thing is designed to keep people where they are. It doesn't allow you to go to the next step. I'm not going to go into my prosperity thing here and tell you this is what you have to do to move forward, but everything that is in our taxation system, everything that's in our governmental system, everything that's based economically is designed to keep ignorant people in the dark. Trust me. I have talked to some people and I've said, here, you can do this. I didn't know you could do that. Of course you don't know you can do that. Because nobody tells you. There's a reason why people are able to do certain things and do this and do that. Like Congressman Franklin was just talking about. Did you know what the salt tax was? Do you understand what the salt tax is? Do you understand state and local taxes and how they deduct that? And so that they deduct it from their salt basis, that they don't have to pay federal, blah, blah, blah. It's a game. And as, what's the guy's name? George Carlin said, it's a big club and you ain't in it. So before you can start talking about affordability and everything, you got a whole many other steps you got to go through before somebody can be truly afford to buy a home. Now rent, almost the same thing. Because no one's going to rent to you if your credit sucks. How's your credit suck? Let me look. Looks like in 2023 you did something bad. But I'm better now. Yeah, but they said you screwed up twice in a year. So I missed 2 payments in the entire year and you're telling me to screw up? Yep, you missed 2 payments. You missed one in April and another one in November. Sorry, get lost. And you don't hear one Democrat who's out there talking about affordability. Now, do you know that the amount you pay in your interest rate for your mortgage is most likely tied to your credit score? Do you know that you can get a better mortgage based upon your score? I didn't know that. Yeah. Many of you do who own your own home. That's why you have a credit score. That's why you take care of stuff. So the affordability isn't the big deal. The big deal is getting ready. We were all taught as kids, go to high school, do well, go to college, get a good job, get married, have a baby, buy a house, do the same thing with the kids, the family behind you. But there's entire swaths of our community that have been lied to by the Democrat Party who say you shouldn't have a family. You shouldn't get married. You don't need no man. And then you're wondering why you can't afford to live anywhere. And then, of course, then you get in trouble and then your credit score gets messed up. And once your credit score gets messed up, you got to go back to square one. Your credit score is basically the jail block in Monopoly. You're doing well. I'm going to do well. I'm moving up. Oh, I missed 2 payments. Go back to square one. Start all over. Because now you screwed up. Sorry, can't help you. Hey, try this. Try this. Nope, nothing works. They're lying to you. I've worked in real estate for quite some time now, and I've also owned and rented property out at the same time. And I'm telling you, it's a hamster wheel that once you fall off once, now you got to go back to get back to the line and start all over again. And then don't screw up a second time, because then you got to go all the way back again. So it's not affordability. It's, number one, can you afford to live where you want to live? I'd love to have a house on the beach. I ain't got $10 million. So can you make that more affordable? Nope, not talking about that, are you? It's a lie. It's a big lie. Somebody says, Richard says, I agree with you, something needs to be done about these ridiculous insurance companies, home, car. Yeah, it's all expensive. You don't hear anybody talking about that. Even when they talk about health insurance and Obamacare, nobody's talking about property insurance. Nobody's talking to you about car insurance. The Democrats are so full of crap that I can go on for hours with you. Rent is almost worse than a mortgage. Yeah, because at that point, when you're renting, you're in a different spot in terms of market supply and demand. Affordability in a real estate market is based upon supply and demand. If 10 people want this apartment, well, let's see, I'm going to rent this for $1,000 a month. Yeah, I get 10 applications. Well, you know what? Maybe now it's going to be 15. And you're going to drop off 2 or 3 of them. Yeah, let's go to $1,750. All right, now I got 2 people. Okay, we're going to go at $1,700. We're going to pull it down. But I advertised it at $1,000. A whole bunch of people came. The demand was high, so I raised it to $1,700. You don't think that happens every single day? Now, because the demand was there, all those people who could only afford $1,000, they're done. Both my daughters are buying a home. 2 incomes. One has $668 a month for taxes, and the other pays $800 a month in taxes. So even when the house is paid off, the property taxes are still there. Yep, you're still paying the government. Anybody other than Ron DeSantis talking about doing away with property taxes? Any of the people in the blue city say we're not going to charge property taxes? Nope. It's all a scam. It's all a scam. What do we have? My credit score is 0, but fully own my home, 2 bikes, 2 boats, 2 sports cars, 4x4. Luckily and grateful. Rhoda, I bet you your score is not 0. Sort of like an SAT score. I sold my house yesterday for twice as much as I paid for it and moved to assisted living. It's almost $5,000 a month. You sold the house for twice as much as you paid for it. Now you're going to go ahead and pay $5,000 a month for assisted living. It's a scam. It's an absolute scam. But anyway, $1,000 used to be a lot of money. It used to be a lot of money. So when you hear them say, and you have to realize, when you hear them talk about affordability, it's a ruse. It's a carrot in front of poor people that they can never bite into. It's never going to be there until you take care of things on your end. But then again, it's Trump's fault.
Children and your family every now and then. And of course, Joe, one day retire with grace and dignity.
What's your evidence that Mamdani would return New York City to...
Okay, this witch. I told you this morning, she surfaced for air and she showed up on CNN. So she got booted from MSNBC and looks like she's trying to, catch some air on CNN. Good luck with that.
The 1970s hellhole Times Square. What is your evidence of that?
It's very simple. So he wants to raise taxes on people who make the most money. What eventually is going to happen is you're going to lose that tax base. Once you lose that tax base, our bonds will get degraded. Now the city budget will not be substantial enough to subsidize not only the cops, but the fire department, the sanitation department. Once you start losing Wall Street and people who pay $11,000, $12,000 a month to live on the Upper East Side, you're done. Let me ask you. And you go back to the 70s when Gerald Ford said to New York, drop dead.
Okay, but hold on, Arthur.
Crisis.
But Arthur, just as somebody who is just listening to you, you raised the taxes on wealthy people in this city.
Wait. Define wealthy. It's sort of like fair share. They could never define it because it has to keep changing according to the pot that they need to fill. Remember? We're not going to raise taxes on anybody who makes more than $200,000 a year. Until we need now, we're not going to raise taxes on anybody who makes more than $400,000 a year. We're not going to... It keeps changing. What is wealthy? What you would say is wealthy is different than what I would say is wealthy. And I'm probably, if you talk to some wealthy people, they're going to say, well, I don't got as much money as Warren Buffett. I'm not wealthy. But dude, you got a jet. I ain't got it like that, though.
already,
50%.
yeah, they're already,
53%.
and that's exactly my point. They're already paying some of the high. I know, Arthur, but Arthur, they are already paying right at this moment some of the highest taxes in the country, and you think that 1 or 2% is going to cause a mass exodus out of New York?
Haven't you said it's
You love it how Democrats like spending other people's money. It's not a big deal. We're going to take another 2% from you. That's what you said the last time you increased the taxes. And the time before that. And it's always just 1 or 2% more. Until a year later, it's just 1 or 2% more. Go up, look up the tax rate in California and see where it was 5-10 years ago and where it is now. It's always just a few cents more. You can afford another 50 cents a gallon in gas. It's no big deal.
It started.
I just want to be clear that that's what you're saying, because I think that seems pretty extreme.
Because he's also not going to focus on crime. Right now you have Police Commissioner Tisch and John Chell, the chief of the department. Crime in the city of New York right now is set to break all records as the lowest ever in recorded history for shootings and murders. Once that starts going up in the other direction, and the tax base is gone, and sanitation is gone, and schools are gone.
बात ये नहीं है कि मैं क्या बनूंगा, बात ये है कि मैं क्या.
By the way, there's nothing wrong with this tape. This is the New York City mayor wannabe.
हमारे कम्युनिटीज के लिए और हर एक न्यूयॉर्कर के लिए मैं हमारे शहर को अफोर्डेबल बनाऊंगा. न्यूयॉर्कर्स मुश्किल से अफोर्ड कर रहे हैं रोटी, कपड़ा और मकान. मैं ये सब बदलने के लिए लड़ रहा हूँ. रेंट फ्री बसेस, यूनिवर्सल चाइल्ड केयर और
रेंट फ्री, बस फ्री, चाइल्ड केयर फ्री, all free.
चीज के जरिए. पर आपको एक सवाल पूछना चाहता हूँ, तुमने कभी किसी को वोट किया?
Because I think that New Yorkers, more than they hate a politician they disagree with, they hate a politician they can't trust.
You got that one right. You got that right, Zohan. Oh, and now, unfortunately for young Zohan, whatever, he's now caught the eye of probably the most prevalent New Yorker at this point. The most prevalent New Yorker is like, okay, so I've been dealing with these people overseas for a while, and I had some stuff to do, but Dad's home, or he's on his way home, and Dad's not happy about what he's seeing happen in New York. It's finally happened. The Democrats have crossed the line. Zoran Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Democrat primary and is on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little bit ridiculous. He looks terrible. His voice is grating. He's not very smart. He's got AOC plus 3 dummies all backing him. And even our great Palestinian senator, crying Chucky Schumer, is groveling over him. Yes, this is a big moment in the history of our country. Zohan, I'm pretty sure you're about to get a Trump enema. This guy better be squeaky clean. They're going to dig into him, and it's obvious at this point that the boss is like, let's do something about this. We cannot have this here in our country. I'm done with it. Then he posted this. I'm not sure which one came first, but he also posted this. I have an idea for the Democrats to bring them back into, quote, play after years of being left out in the cold, including suffering one of the greatest losses in history, the 2024 presidential election. The Democrats should nominate low IQ candidate Jasmine Crockett for president, and AOC plus 3 should be respectively vice president and 3 high-level members of her cabinet. Added together with our future communist mayor of New York City, Zoran Mamdani, and our country is really screwed. Zoran, you're not even ready for the wrath that is coming your way. He's had time to deal with Iran and Israel and NATO, and now he's sitting on a plane somewhere over the Atlantic heading back home, and he's like, oh, hell no. No. So now you've got his attention, buddy. And he's also letting the other New Yorkers who follow Trump, he's now giving them the attention. This is going to be this dude's worst nightmare. He's about to get like a stage 3 enema. Real quick here. Real quick. All right. Trump hit him. Trump hit him hard. Oh my goodness. Yeah, can you imagine? It's bad enough what he's done to the media. Now little Zorhan's about to get some. Zorhan! Yeah, you're going to get some Zorhan. Whew, man, that's absolutely crazy. All right, so let me get a few comments before we get out of here so I can get ready for tonight. Did Barry start this calling Trump daddy? No, it wasn't me. It wasn't me. The general of the NATO called Trump daddy for spanking the kids around. So it wasn't me. Nope, I didn't do it. He's out there right now, the master troll, as somebody said. I wish we could do what you were thinking, Brother Barry. Oh yeah, it's crazy. SV, that's crazy. The Don daddy. Oh, that's funny as hell. I do have Mussolini was the train guy. Okay. There are a couple more things I want to show you real quick here. New York City votes for him. I can only laugh at what they get for that. Oh, I'm thinking New York City is about to. That may have been the best thing that happened to New York. It was close. It was within striking distance. Remember, the rest of the state is probably already red. Ain't gonna need a whole lot now to tilt it. And this might just tilt it. Because it seems like at this point, he now has got on the radar of President Trump. Good luck. Oh, good luck. All right, so let me show you a couple of things that happened while we were talking about Zohar. Zohar. This is, is this Caroline Levitt? Let's see here.
This was a low confidence preliminary intelligence assessment. The assessment itself said that it was not corroborated by anyone else in the intelligence community. And it has been disputed by not just the United States, the President, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, our Joint Chiefs, and our General Kane, who was incredibly successful in this mission on Saturday night. It was also disputed by both Israel and Iran. And CNN didn't care about that. The DIA themselves have now come out and said, this was a preliminary report, and this CNN story got it completely wrong. But that reporter is a sheep, and she's a mouthpiece for people who don't like Donald Trump. And she only gave the White House an hour to respond. And that's, again, the same playbook we've seen the fake news media play time and time again. But this story has now been debunked widely by not just the United States, but also Iran and Israel as well.
Ooh, she came out fiery, didn't she? I'm not sure which of these came first, but this was something she said in Bottom of Congress.
They took bits and pieces from a leaked top secret intelligence report. And by the way, I understand the FBI is investigating who was the source of that leak because it's an illegal leak to CNN. And this is the same.
All right, there's some news for you. There's some breaking news for you. So right now, the FBI is now investigating the leak. President Trump kind of said that earlier. Or was it Pete Hegseth? But now, Dan Bongino and Cash are on it, right? Okay. Who knows what happens in that dark hole, but hopefully they'll do something.
New CNN reporter who wrote the story alleging that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, which we know is one of the greatest political hoaxes this country and the American public have ever seen. And that CNN story does not change the facts. There was a total and complete obliteration of Iran's nuclear facilities, and because of the president's strike, because of the precision of our United States military and this perfectly executed mission, Iran no longer has the capability to produce a nuclear weapon as imminently as they did prior to the strike. The American people in the world should be grateful for that, and it's disgusting that CNN and the New York Times are disparaging not just the president, but our brave men and women who helped conduct this highly successful operation.
And what kind of consequence could the leaker face?
They should go to jail.
Ooh, I wanted you to hear the end there. What should happen to the person that did this? He should go to jail. Cash, Pam, Dan, you got your walking papers. Go find this person and throw him in jail. Yes. Oh, it's going to get juicy. And this was while he was overseas. Wait until he lands tonight. I think, let me check the schedule. I think he's due to land and come back at 6:30. Let me just check, make sure, because tonight's show, I might have to have some stuff for you, depending on what he's doing. Let me show you guys the schedule so you guys can see it as well. By the way, this comes out every morning about 6:30 or so, sometimes a little bit earlier, sometimes the night before. if you catch them. But here is President Trump's current schedule, and once it converts back to our time, let's see where it is. He arrives at the White House at 6:50 p.m. All right, so he will be back at the White House at 6:50, which means he's probably on the ground, probably 6:30 our time, maybe 6:15. So he's due in about 3 hours. 3 hours, President Trump will be back at the White House, at which point, I don't think he's done for the night. I think he's probably, if anything, he's probably taking his rest right now while he's flying over, and he's going to get done, get back here and just be ready to go. I would almost think so. So we'll probably have some stuff to talk about tonight as well. Zohan is working for Soros. In 2024, 3.6 million people voted for Trump in New York. Yeah, if he gets those people out, that guy Zohar is done. Daddy's coming home. Oh, man. Yeah, not jail, Barry. Prison. You're right. Throw him in prison. Or even better, Gitmo. Yes, exactly. Nobody gets your sense of humor. I'm sorry, did you say something? I must have missed it, but I'm sure it was good. Wait a minute, SB's got some breaking news. CBS is attempting to settle President Trump's lawsuit for $20 million. Nope, he ain't gonna do it. Nope, not gonna happen. President Trump is not gonna take $20 million. It is, I mean, what's he suing him for, like $100 billion or something? He's not gonna take that kind of a settlement. Not gonna happen. Already 9 minutes later, after President Trump posted that, President Trump just endorsed Jasmine Crockett. Oh man, this guy is epic. He is completely epic troller. It's too much. It's too much. Keep them running. Keep them running. Make them run and have to catch up with him. It's all over the place. He endorsed Jasmine Crockett. Oh man, this is crazy. Ooh. This is got to be interesting. Let me. I may have to download this video before we go. Hold on. This is some breaking stuff here that is going to cause. This is going to cause the Democrats to absolutely lose their mind. Let me set it up. Let me set it up before I tell you. All right. So where is it? Where'd I just find it? Okay, here. Let me just show you this. It says. Breaking, the Trump White House administration says it will limit the classified information given to Congress. Someone in Congress is believed to have leaked the classified information on the Iranian strike. So he is now going to limit. I don't know. I have no idea what the law would be in that regard, how he can do it, but if there's anyone who's willing to take a shot at it, it will be him.
So we've got some breaking news here. This comes from our producer, Pat Ward, on Capitol Hill. A White House official confirms to Fox that the Trump administration plans to limit sharing classified information with Congress after someone leaked that internal assessment of Saturday's bombings of Iran's nuclear facilities. The suggestion, I mean, if you were to read between the lines there, is that the leak came from Congress. What do you think about the White House limiting the sharing of classified information with members of Congress?
Well, I think those who are on the intelligence, national security related committees like myself should have access to classified information. It's been very strong piece through strength that if you don't comply, we're willing to bomb you again. And I think that's a very strong message.
So we've got some breaking news here. This comes from our producer, Pat Ward, on Capitol Hill. A White House official confirms to Fox that the Trump administration...
So somebody who ever posted that just did a repeat twice. That's interesting. Very interesting. Love it. Limit, but not stop. Yeah, because that will make it even easier. Who do I think the leak was? I have no idea. I have no idea who the leak is. No idea why someone would put themselves in that position. I seriously doubt that it's Mike Johnson. It's going to be some low-level person who got paid. Probably took a payment to do it. You saw what happened to Mike Waltz. You know, he's over in Siberia somewhere, so who knows what happened with him. But yeah, we'll see. Maybe by tonight we'll have an idea on who it is. All right, so let me go ahead and do the super chats before we get out of here. Where is my window? Here we go. Okay. Kyle Campbell. Mamdani can be removed from office under federal law, USC chapter, United States Code, chapter 23, subchapter 4, communist control. He can also be deported under chapter 3, immigrant membership in a totalitarian party. I believe he's a citizen now, so we'd have to check about that. Angel Flight, thank you very much. Rena Bale. Pamela Couch. Marxism equals the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. There is zero middle class, the opposite of what the USA was founded on. Agreed. Will you be giving away hoodies again? Not hoodies, it's summertime. We're looking at some t-shirts. We're working on some of that stuff to put something together for you in that regard. And what I think we're going to do in the interim is on the Rumble side, start doing gift certificates and stuff again. But yes, thank you. Thank you for the question. Just another knucklehead. I saw a post earlier that the Google search after polls closed was socialism. They do not know what it is. Idiots voted for him. Then they're having remorse. Exactly. That's what I just showed you. I don't know much about him, but... And that's what they were saying on camera. Well, I didn't know. Carbon John, I tried voting yesterday but couldn't because I'm a Republican in New York City. This is what I was told at the voting location. I think it was a closed primary. And Lillian Rose, Barry, as a New York City business owner, I have a little influence. I want to know who should I endorse, Adams or Sliwa? If I start now, I can make a little difference, maybe. Very interesting question. Who should people in New York get behind? Well, let's figure out who the choices are going to be. Maybe Ashley can get some of these people on. We know who the Democrat winner is. It's going to be Zohan. Now we have to figure out, I believe Eric Adams is running as the independent and Curtis is running as the Republican. I think those are the choices right now. Not a great bunch of choices, but I think Zohan, you just got to take him off. He's not even to be considered. So now you got to consider Adams and Sliwa. Sliwa hasn't really done much other than the Guardian Angels, and Adams has been in trouble, and the city's still not running the way it should. So it's going to be hard. Let's look into that. Let's definitely dig in and see who would be a good choice for New Yorkers. That's a very good question. I will have to look at that. Let me see here. What's this? I'm looking at SV sending me stuff. I'll talk about the. Oh, this is a good one. Wait a second. Oh, this is a good one. I'll be talking about this tonight. President Trump called for Congress to kill the federal government's Voice of America network. Good. It's nothing but a propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. Carrie Lake has already fired up to 85% of their staff and cut hundreds of millions in spending. I'm all for that. All for that for sure. Let me, before I go, I've got a super chat that I want to, from Rumble. I'm trying to get that screen over. Where is it? Okay, let me pull it over this way. I like to give people. All right, so you can barely see it. I don't know why. Hold on, let me move it over here because we're having to do stuff because Rumble doesn't have the capacity to do some of the things that we need to do in terms of acknowledging people and stuff. So I have to do it a different way, and it's not playing well with others. Let me move it to here. All right, so I can do it like this. Yeah, let me do it this way. You can't see it. Still can't see it. Anyway, you can see the name, Joy Binks. Joy Binks, thank you very much. Says, I think I know why Corey talks the way he does. He has someone in his ear telling him what to say, so he has to pause to hear what they say. It could be. It could be talking about Hakeem Jeffries. Yes, probably. Well, who knows? All right, so tonight we're going to look at 7:30, and I hope to have you guys come on back. We'll talk to you then.